Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so thank you for joining us today. And we're so excited to have you. For those
Thank you.
who don't know who you are, or if you want, we can wait for a little bit more people to join, or we can just kind of dive into it already.
Sure, whatever you like. I'm all yours.
Okay. So let's go ahead and start with just introducing yourself and telling us what you've been up to since the whole pandemic. I know we saw you on Fox 11 News. So just go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. We are getting some messages that nobody can hear us. So those who can hear us, if you guys put a thumbs up, that would be great. Yes, I was featured on Fox 11 News, Good Day LA, and recently, and I spoke about some of the topics that we are going to discuss today, specifically the stimulus check and unemployment. As you know, that's not my area of practice. I do car accident cases, personal injury. I do estate planning. But I did speak on that because it was new things, new changes. And as I got invited, I had to get myself acquainted with what's going on. And I decided to speak on it.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So just dive right. So what did you want to talk about first? We can talk about stimulus checks, unemployment, estate planning, and just kind of like general law questions that we had for you. So which one did you want
Sure.
to start with?
Sure.
Okay.
Whatever you want to start with.
Okay. Hopefully people can hear us. I don't think people can. Can everyone hear us still?
Everyone could hear us. Give us a thumbs up. We got a few coming in, so we're good.
Okay. So let's start with talking about like the stimulus checks. I know since we are in our second lockdown now, and a lot of people have a lot of questions, are they extending it? That way more people can apply if we didn't get a chance to do it before. So if you could just tell us a little bit, I think we want to know who is eligible for stimulus checks. Oh, sorry, I got confused with unemployment.
Yeah.
So we can start with stimulus checks. So who is eligible first of all?
Okay, so anybody that's a U.S. citizen or a resident alien, and they have a valid social security number, is eligible for it. But there are a lot of like mini requirements, one of which has to be like, you must have filed your 2018. And when I was on Fox, I had to tell them file your 2018 or 2019. But as of yesterday, the tax day, which was extended for the to July 15. We hopefully a lot of people got an extension or they filed. If they filed their 2018 and 2019 taxes, that would give a good indication to the IRS as to whether or not they will be eligible, as long as they meet the threshold amounts, because there's a threshold amount for single, married, and so on.
Okay, got it. Okay, super cool. Okay, so they did extend the tax date to, you said July 15th.
Yeah.
Are they extending it again, or they haven't said?
So for now, the only thing that they extended was the tax date to yesterday's date.
Okay.
With regard to unemployment, there are some extensions. We'll get into it.
Okay.
But what's important to know on the stimulus check, the $1,200 that single people were getting if they met the adjusted gross income, which just, anybody making between $75,000 to $99,000, there was like a scale of $1,200 that should have been received. I think what's really important is that a lot of people have still not received their stimulus check.
Right. Yeah, I didn't hear that.
And it's just like my phone's been ringing. Like, yeah. Where is it? I'm like, I don't work for the IRS. Right. I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I have heard that too. I know some people that I know too haven't gotten theirs.
Yeah,
that is interesting. Do you know if there's like a period? Like, do they have a cutoff date of when people will receive it?
So, when they first came out with it, it was such a new program, and it was something out of the blue, and they didn't anticipate how many of these checks they were going to process. And when I last spoke about it, there was about 66 million people who hadn't received their stimulus check, but that was end of May.
Okay.
A lot of people have gotten it since then, and I think it's very important to know that when they first came up with the stimulus check, they had mentioned that it's going to be a 20-week process. So if we do the math for, weeks in a month, it looked like it was going to be a 5-month process to get this. So my anticipation or my calculations, and this is mine and not set by anybody, was that by September we should be getting something. So hopefully by September, a lot more people have gotten their stimulus check, and I hope that it helps people. We're really in a really, really difficult time right now.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And so is the stimulus check only $1,200? There's nothing more, or is it any less?
So it's $1,200 for single people who are not dependents of other people's filings. We'll get into who's not eligible. It's $1,200 if you make $75,000 or less. It gets there's a scale between $75,000 to $99,000. For head of household, it's $1,200 again, but as long as you don't make over like $112,000. I don't know if they changed that, and I am looking at the website just to be sure. And for married people, it's $2,400, $1,200 plus $1,200, as long as they meet the threshold of $150,000 or less. And again, up to like $198,000. Again, all of this information could be found on the irs.gov website.
Got it. Okay, perfect. And so then who is not eligible?
So let's go to that. That's very important because a lot of people think that they may be eligible, that they file taxes. There's different ways of, doing this. And as I mentioned, I don't do any I don't do any taxes. So just to be sure, whatever is being said is from IRS. It's people who don't have a social security number.
Okay.
It's if you're a non-resident alien, if you do not meet the requirements for the adjusted gross income, the 75, the 112, the 150, and if somebody claims you as a dependent. So also children, if you have children under and qualifying under the age of 17, I believe, under 17, each child gets $500. So as long as you filed your taxes, you should be fine.
Got it. Okay. I know there was a question here. Someone asked, can I still file for a check? I'm not sure.
Yeah, let's see what they're saying. Rudy's asking, can I still file for a check? I don't know if I understand the question, but if you elaborate, I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can or point you to the direction of who may be able to answer. So yeah. My camera. Okay, there we go.
So for those people who haven't received their check, is there a website they can check the status of maybe they will be receiving it, or?
Yeah. So everything we're saying and everything that the news is saying comes from the irs.gov website. It's really simple. Just go to www.irs.gov, and there will be in like a little blue box, or to the left-hand side corner, there'll be something called Get My Economic Impact Payment. So stimulus check is synonymous to economic impact payment, EIP. So if they click on that, they will go to a blue icon that will say Get My Payment. So as long as you click on Get My Payment, you can just follow the directions there. You will go through like a security prompt that, you're entering a governmental website. You should be able to, you should click OK, pass that barrier. And what information they'll ask from you is your social, your birth date, and your address. And as soon as you input that information in, Michelle, you should be able to find out, have they processed it? Do they have your information? Do they need more information? Because they'll be prompted to different categories. And if you did receive your money, for those who hadn't called me and said, thanks, I see it, it'll say you received it. I heard that a lot of people got it straight deposited into their bank account, because sometimes when you file taxes, you can have them just link it to your bank account, withdraw and deposit. So those were easier. And all those who receive Social Security benefits, retirement benefits, VA benefits, those were easier because they already had it coming in like on a monthly, But as far as individuals who usually did the traditional snail mailed their checks, it's taking some time on that. So patience is very key on that.
It's hard when it's, free money.
It is.
Yeah.
Definitely free money.
Let's see. All right. So, is there any status? Maybe will there be another round of stimulus checks since we have entered the second wave?
Yeah. There's a lot of talk. No official word.
Okay.
Nothing official as of today. As of maybe like early morning today, I try to check again. So if there is, I don't know about it. But I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get another wave. I know with more closures, especially with California, some openings throughout the state, entire state, we're going to see what happens by the end of July, because that additional stimulus part of the federal act, the CARES Act, that is rolling over to the unemployment portion, which we'll get into, is going to be a hot topic in the next 2 weeks to see what is our federal government doing and considering to do, because California just came up with some different benefits.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so then let's get into unemployment, because I know I have a lot of questions as well.
Sure.
So, well, first of all, did we cover everything with stimulus checks? Is there anything else?
I think so, yeah. One more thing just to stress to end off stimulus check. If you didn't get it, go to the website. Their lines are really busy, so I doubt anybody's going to get somebody to answer their question. But they did project a 5-month window. Where we stand on that, I don't know. But a lot of checks did roll out beginning and middle of May. Okay. That we know of. And just be patient. Some people haven't even filed taxes in years and decades. So the IRS has to know your information somehow for you to get that money. So, maybe talk to a CPA, get in contact with an enrolled agent, reach out to people so you can get that money.
Okay, great. That's great advice.
Wonderful.
All right. So let's dive into unemployment. So first of all, can you just discuss standard unemployment benefits?
Yeah. From my understanding, unemployment is basically, the traditional unemployment is 60% of your wages that is calculated with regards to the time you've worked. But the one for the one that, people started applying way before the pandemic unemployment, the way they were going to calculate it was, again, 60% of your wages, up to a maximum of $450 per week. And the way they were going to look at this is the last 12 months, the last 4 quarters of your wages of what you've received, and they were going to calculate it that way. But it took them a lot of time to do this.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So how are the standard unemployment benefits different from the benefits during the pandemic?
So with the unemployment, you typically had to be an employee of a company. Somebody had to pay you a W-2. You report wages. Your employer reports you as an employee. But a lot of people, like our Uber drivers, our Lyft drivers, the ones that were in a gray area, self-employed people, a lot of people who had their own business and they're running it under their own tax ID, they wouldn't qualify under the traditional unemployment. Okay. So what California did is they opened up the Pandemic Unemployment Benefits Act for Californians, in which allowed these Uber drivers, self-employed individuals, truck drivers, whoever went into the 1099 business owner distinction, could actually tap into these resources and get some money so that they could benefit from this huge pandemic and crisis.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know it was only California. So we were the only ones that got the extra $600 for unemployment?
No, so this extra $600 was nationwide. It's under the federal law. What California did, and I don't know if the other states did, is because I didn't look up the other states, but what California did is they opened it up to self-employed individuals. Oh. That's the only distinction. The $600, $600 was nationwide, which unfortunately is due to expire end of July. So unless there's talks and changes, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully. I think a lot of people are hoping too as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. So are people still able to apply for the unemployment with the extra $600?
Yeah, so if people still, and look, I've heard and I read that a lot of people still have not even had their claims processed. And I think an article came out a few days ago saying what kind of a nightmare unemployment office has faced, the EDD office of California. There are claims that are not processed yet. There are people who haven't even tapped into it yet. There are people who have questions and haven't gotten through the first step. So as long as they meet the requirements and as long as they do it in a timely fashion, because nobody should hold off on this, they should be able to tap into it.
Okay.
But as of July 1st, our governor proposed another federal funding from the California Fund, and he just extended it. It's usually 13 weeks of an extension, but he extended it 7 additional weeks for a total of 20 weeks. And I recently, and I'm on the website, and I want to quote it as it said because I don't want to misspeak or, you know, say something that, you know, people can rely on and it's not right. So right now, it says that if you are eligible for the unemployment benefits, and as long as you were eligible for it and you applied for it, it looks like, oh, and it's between the weeks of May 10 and July 25, they will, EDD, California EDD, will pay the additional $600 in federal stimulus funds on top of your current weekly benefit amount.
Okay.
So they're saying that we will automatically add the $600 to each week of benefits. So I think this is really good news and hope for a lot, but let's see what the, you know, what the CARES Act is going to take place or what changes may come as we end July.
Got it. Okay, great. Let's see. So is unemployment just for people who are unemployed, or is it, can people who had their hours cut, can they also apply?
Great question, Michelle. It was for people that who had a huge income loss to also apply. So some people got, you know, partial hours. Some people had 2-3 jobs and they lost a big chunk of their job. If they did, look, it's good to apply. It's not like you tap into a claim and you don't get accepted. It's going to be of your disadvantage. It's not. It's actually to your advantage. If you don't get approved, then you don't. But trying and getting it accepted is not going to hurt anybody. So I would recommend that if you did get your hours cut, attempt to apply, see what they say, and just work with them. But they are in such a backlog that it's really unfortunate.
That's true. No, I totally understand. I think those were all my questions for unemployment. Was there anything else you think that we missed?
No, I'm looking at just any updates that came in recently. Yeah, so just to note, the $600 does end July 31st. California has its own federal funds that it's tapping into as long as they certify. But let's see what happens. You know, it'll be interesting to see in 2 weeks what takes place.
Yes, definitely. We're all keeping our fingers crossed. So
yeah.
Okay, let's see. So we can kind of go into estate planning, which is your expertise.
Yeah.
So I know myself, I didn't really know what estate planning was. So can you just kind of go over what it is?
Sure. Absolutely. So look, estate planning is just a beautiful global term for all the documents that are entailed during your life and after you pass away.
Okay.
Estate planning is as simple and as complex as it needs to be. It's very specific and customized to the individual or to the family, because no single person is the same. Their assets are different. Their lifestyle is different. No family is the same. You know, there are a mother, son, father's missing. Maybe there's a father in the picture. So everybody's family dynamics, the nuclear family, is different. So as we approach the estate planning, we look at it on an individual basis. For the lack of, you know, it being such a fancy term, it's your wills and trusts that you've heard of, and everybody's like, I need a will, I need a will. A lot of people know what power of attorneys are, or medical directives. So my estate planning document, among other forms, encompasses all that. It has your trust, it has your will, it has your power of attorney, it has your medical directive. So it has it all.
Okay, got it. So what's the difference between a trust and a will?
Okay. A lot of people think that, you know, if they have a will, they can get by. And most of them are correct because that could possibly be true, but most of them are not. So the biggest thing is that a lot of people who have assets that are over $166,500, or I think it's $166,250,000 or more, or if anybody that has a home under their name, they automatically tip over to a discussion of having a trust. Okay. And what does that do among other advantages and all the benefits you get? It essentially protects your home from going to probate, which is a fancy term from going to court, for the court to decide, this random judge who's never met you and doesn't know your family, as to who gets your property. And that's, that's why we prepare trust. So that's the biggest difference between the two. Okay. My colleagues will say, and I will say, can it be done in a will? Absolutely. Okay. But it doesn't avoid court. So if you have a will with a home, your heirs are still going to court because it's going to require the court to rule on that will. Got it. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, cool. Yeah. While I was Googling questions, I have a lot of interesting ones. So I wanted to know, what is a living trust? Was that the same thing that you were talking about? So yeah, a living trust, the term, and I love using the word living, is because it's during your life. Right. As you have a living trust, you are in the driver's seat, controlling what changes you make. When you get married, there's changes. When you have children, as your children grow older, one child versus the other child could have different spending measures. You get to revise your living trust as you grow older. Hopefully you're one of those individuals that don't need revision, and you just draft one, and hopefully the laws haven't changed so much that you don't need any revisions. But a living trust is essentially a legal document which is going to outline your wishes of who gets your distribution or who gets your assets when you pass away. And it's so customizable. The probate code already dictates who gets it. There's it goes down, it goes up, it goes to the side. So there's laws. If you want to avoid those laws, if you want to leave it to a friend, you want to leave it to a mistress, or if you want to leave it to your children, right, or if you want to leave it to anybody other than it, or to your spouse or your two children, and you want to avoid the court process, when you prepare a living trust, it actually outlines that. Okay. You may want to make divisions. You may want to say 60% to my daughter, 40% to my other daughter. You may say my daughter could live in it into her life, and then when she passes away, it goes to the other daughter. You can customize it however you like. Okay. So that's the living trust. Got it. Thank you so much for explaining that. So, and you kind of went into the benefits of a living trust as well. That was my next question. Yeah. The benefits, besides the advantages on, I won't get into the technicality of it because everybody's a unique situation. Number one thing that I've noticed, and with my colleagues, the discussions we have, is that it avoids family conflict. So picture this, siblings they don't always get along. Let's be real. And I have actually had to represent on non-estate planning matters, but real estate, where I had to represent an individual who was being sued by his own brother for the home that he lives in. Because it's a title state. People don't understand that just because I bought you the house, but it's for Michelle, but Christina is on title, it's technically Christina's house. Bottom line is that's what the law is. So I had to be on the other side of representing siblings to fight out this mess. The number one thing and hopeful thing that the trusts do and the estate planning documents do is it avoids family conflict, and it's confidential. Right. It's between you, your parents, your family. When you go to probate, everything you can type it in and look up what Christina had, what Michelle had, what Kobe has, or what it had, or what Naya Rivera had. You can look that up. If they don't have proper documents in place, which most of the celebrities do, you can see their assets and their net worth. Oh, interesting. Okay, very cool. So let me see. So my next question is, when should a person put together their estate plan? So anybody over the age of 18 that hears this and is of sound mind needs a will, a medical directive, and a power of attorney. Now, if that 18-year-old is so lucky enough to also have property under their name and to have assets over $166,000, they need a trust. So an estate plan, the biggest myth is like, oh, it's for the rich and famous. No, it's not for the rich and famous. It's actually for you if you have assets, because you want to avoid court. You want to, and look what happened. There's so many closures. Our cases, my trials got moved to, everything got pushed back to 2021. Probate court, like, unless it was an emergency case, like, things are being delayed. And the last thing you want to do is deal with the sorrow and a loss of a loved one, have to go through that, and then go through court and hire lawyers who are going to get paid thousands and thousands of dollars, thousands, like over $10,000. Like, I think it's statutory. You want to avoid all that. So those people, when you should think about it, you should think about it when you're 18 and on. Because if there are any parents out there, once your children turn 18, you do not have any rights to their medical decisions, to their finances. And, tragedy happens. As a car accident attorney, I see that a lot. A lot of people go through surgeries. A lot of people have these tragic moments that I do deal with people that could be incapacitated. So with the power of attorney and the medical directive, you give the powers to somebody to carry out your wishes until you come back to it. So there's a lot of misconceptions, but I usually bust those myths real quick into my conversation.
That's good. That's great. So you said once you turn 18, and if you have, you said over 100,000?
166, 250,000, or a home under your name, you need a trust. You need a living trust and other documents.
Got it. Okay. Good to know. Perfect. So what is the difference between will and estate planning?
Nothing. Well, your will is part of your estate plan. So an estate means like all your assets and the planning of all those assets. So that's what a will just falls under the umbrella of an estate plan.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. And what is the average cost of an estate plan?
Well, it depends. A lot of people call me all the time. So-and-so is quoting me this. So-and-so is quoting you that. That's great. I have flat rates and flat fees, but until I understand, let's say, Michelle, you come to me, you're an individual, your circumstances is so different than another person who's just an individual. I have to see what I'm doing. I have to see what I'm protecting, and I have to see what I am preparing, because it's going to go to the cost of the value of it, not necessarily, it's not the same estate plan. And when I explain that to people and they see the amount of work that goes into it, they finally understand that it's not a cookie cutter trust. It's not, everybody's wishes aren't the same. So if I have to inherit somebody, or we just had a client where it had like 9 properties and the mom wants to leave 5 to one son, 4 to another son. We have to divide it, and then we have to talk about what if this son passes away? Does the other son get it? Do the kids get it? So it just depends. I don't have a flat rate. I could tell you it's definitely reasonable, and for the value that you're going to get to protect your estate, then it will be done in probate. And all my probate colleagues and friends say, hey, that's our pipeline. This is what we make our money. Absolutely. But, we're here to also protect that.
Okay. Good to know. Very good to know. So I know you did go over like what documents are included. You basically said just everything, all your assets.
Yeah, your assets, if you have IRA accounts, we could include that depending on what the benefit is. We could include your 401ks. We also can discuss how you want to pass away. Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to have like this, nice ceremony? Do you want it to be traditional, non-traditional? Depending on what, ethnic background you are, there are some regulations and communities that don't allow cremation, for example. So if you want to be cremated, we, discuss that, and we put that in your final disposition document, which is another form that goes into your estate plan. So the number one key thing is these medical directives, especially with COVID.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. And I have a question. This may be a stupid question, but so when you have children and then you write like the guardians, just in case you pass away, you and your husband pass away or something, and you write like the legal guardians who your children would go to. But once they turn 18, that just doesn't.
Right.
Anymore, right? So
the cutoff for, being an adult and having to make your own decisions is 18. But Michelle, you brought up a very good point. A lot of people did contact me during COVID because of nomination of guardianship documents.
Okay.
And essentially it is nominating people to step into your shoes to be the guardians of your children. And in the unfortunate event that you both pass away, that's when it takes place. But you know, if you're a married couple, biological parents get custody, but things happen to both parents. Yeah. Or somebody just has, you know, there's a missing parent or an abandoned parent, and we don't know where that parent is, the other one. So it would be best, instead of having your kid go through the court system, hire an attorney to represent your child, you know, drag them through that nasty process of the loss of a mother or father. And if you have a child, especially a newborn, the best thing is to sit down with your loved one, your spouse, and say, who do we want to be the guardians of our kids? Because look, you're going to get a random judge sitting behind a desk in their black robe, deciding who gets your child. And if one family could afford more money or can pay lawyers more than the other family, if somebody has better housing, like, look, everything's for the best interest of the child. That's what the court looks like in family law and all these practices. But who is best to know besides you and your husband, you and your spouse, your wife, whatever your match is? You guys are the best. You created a child. You brought somebody to the world. You guys could decide that. And I know, I get shivers. I have shivers. It's the hardest thing to decide as a parent. And look at Naya Rivera. Look at Kobe. Kobe had his stuff in place. I haven't searched in Rivera's case, but if she was the only parent, let's say, you know, we don't know where the father is, or the father is no longer with us, that child, if there's no nomination of guardianship, he's going to be stuck in the court system. So you're going to have a grandmother mourning the loss of a daughter, a 4-year-old mourning the loss of a mother, now be behind or be in front of a judge deciding which which family member takes them. You don't want to do that. You just want to really avoid that. It's the hardest topic to talk about, but it is something that's very important that we do talk about, and we do bring it up.
Got it. Okay. That totally makes sense. So if you don't have a legal guardian for your child, like in your will, so you're saying that the court would just decide which family member
the family members would petition the court, assuming no parent is involved. Right. So dad's side and mom's side, whatever your dynamics is, whatever the marriage relationship is, the parent's side will petition the court. And they may both agree, 50 here, 50 there, 20 here, 80 there, no problem. They still have to go through the court system. The child has to be sitting, well, not physically, but the child has to be in that process of, you know, finding out. But like you mentioned, once you're 18, you're no longer in custody of, you know, the court system or the parental system. You are an individual as an adult, and then you should decide of having these proper documents in place.
I see. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So let me see. So what are the consequences of not having an estate?
Where do I start? So first and foremost, not having a trust or a will definitely put you in the court system. That's the number one. It's costly. It's time consuming. You are talking about attorney's fees, back and forth, legal documents. So to avoid all that, the benefits is that it will be least, you know, it will be cost effective, very short in time, you know, a couple of meetings, couple of phone conversations, an estate plan, like we can resolve it. And the attorney's fees and costs, they are statutorily regulated. It's in the code. The attorneys will get the money pursuant to the code. And if they don't have a medical directive or a power of attorney, which basically gives the agent to make financial decisions or medical decisions, and somebody goes into a state of incapacity, they can't make their own decisions temporarily. Something happens. You fall, you hit your head. You're not waking up. You're on whatever it is.
Right.
If you don't have these documents and there's immediate medical decisions to be made, you may force your family, your spouse, your loved ones, your children, your parents, whoever it may be, into the court system to get a conservatorship. And if you get a conservatorship, you're talking about, the last time I got quoted for one for referring a client was over 20,000. Whereas an estate plan costs you a fraction of that price, even 1/4 of that price. It doesn't matter. It's not 20,000. So you're there basically as your loved one is trying to fight for their life. You're there in front of the judge, telling the judge, convincing the judge that, hey, please give me medical authority and power to take over this person's willpower. You got to understand, like, it's a constitutional right. Like, you have your own choices. So the judges are usually reluctant to doing that because of the fact that you're taking over somebody's life, right? So not only is it a hassle, but sometimes it's denied. The judges don't like doing that. And there are very, very limited attorneys who do conservatorships. And that's the hardest challenge that we find. Maybe I should get into it because a lot of people need it, but it's the hardest thing to do right now.
Okay, got it. Okay, great. Great information. I think that was all my questions for estate planning. Was there anything else that you wanted to go over regarding that?
No, I'll just say, look, I offer free consultations. I always have. My office is always available to answer any questions. If you have a home, you need a trust. If you don't have it, the court's going to decide from you, and attorneys are going to take your money. That it is what it is, you know, and good for them because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of paperwork, and it's a lot of appearances with court. Hopefully not a lot. If you have children, you need you need your will, you need your guardianship documents. If you're 18 and over, walking, talking, breathing, you need your will, medical directive, and power of attorney. Okay. Why don't you make the decisions before a judge makes the decisions for you? And I provide free consultations. I do probate avoidance trusts. If it's a trust that I can't do, like special needs, especially if there's people with special needs children, those are people with, you know, autistic children or some children that receive governmental benefits, but they have a mansion and a home or, you know, just a property out in Glendale. Their child could possibly lose their benefits when they inherit your trust or they inherit your asset. So there's a way that we could prepare a special needs trust. That's a unique area, and I actually have colleagues to do that. I don't even do that myself. Okay. So pretty much that's it on the estate planning end. Okay, great. Perfect. So just some general law questions that I was curious about. Do you have any advice for people who are maybe getting laid off during this time? Oh, hang tight, hang in there. I know people are being laid off. I know there's jobs that are not opening up. I know that it's been very difficult with even applying for unemployment. But look, don't rely on unemployment only. We need to get the economy back up. We need to get it started. We need to start that engine and get the wheels moving so that we can move forward. So just, you know, if you need somebody to talk to, I've always said it, my office is open. I know it's very hard times. Keep yourself busy. You know, one thing I did, Michelle, I launched a YouTube channel. I bring different guests and I invite people to speak on topics. I had to keep myself busy. It's good for my sanity. It's material. It's me bringing information to viewers who may need this, even though it's not an area I practice. You know, you just have to keep busy and hang tight. We're hoping this, you know, things will open up soon. There are plenty of jobs out there like Uber, Lyft, Amazon, packaging, shipping. There's stuff that didn't stop. So apply, get a job, get back on your feet. That's what I would suggest. I totally agree. And how, from your point of view, how have attorneys been affected by the pandemic? So, you know, I can say some attorneys are doing pretty well and some attorneys are not doing so well. And I think it's a shift of what area of practice of law. My car accident cases stopped for a bit because of the fact that people weren't driving. We were told to stay in. We were told to quarantine. We were told there was a lockdown. Then there was those, you know, riots and the vandalism and all the looting that was happening. So we had curfews. So not a lot of people were out, but a lot of people were out too. So I think on the personal injury end, I could speak on my firm behalf, it slowed down. But on the estate planning end, because a lot of people got afraid, I got a lot of phone calls with people's husbands and wives in their hospital, COVID, non-related. People giving birth during this time. Things can go wrong during birth. Birth is still very it's a very serious moment. So a lot of people had contacted my office to get their medical directives done. So on that end, it helped. But I think in general, we were all suffering. We can't see clients, so it's not personable. We do these lives. There's a certain extent that you can connect emotionally. I've been hosting Zoom and virtual meetings because my office is virtual, and I've been virtual for a very long time, actually a year. So, I didn't really get affected by the whole lockdown, but at least when I had client meetings, I would go back to my office, I would meet people.
Right.
So it kind of changed that and the shift. So it's really going to be interesting where we're headed for the attorney's perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have any advice for people who want to go into law maybe after this pandemic or even during?
So, so the question I would ask myself, would I do this again? I think absolutely. If you're passionate in the legal aspect and whether or not it's you to be an attorney, I think a law degree is a great tool to have to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily practice in law. You can do public work, you could do policy work, you could do legislation, you could do politics, you could do anything. You can't do medicine, or you can't do BSc, you can't do accounting stuff, but you could do a lot. If they are deciding to go, just do it. Like a lot of things are online, I know. I think a lot of classes are going to be online.
Yeah.
I know we're still waiting to hear about the bar exam, which got moved from the end of July to September. Now there's talks in October. You just got to roll with the punches. When I graduated, it was the biggest downfall and the biggest depression and recession we had been through, and or during my time at least. And so the word was the American dream is no longer there. So Christina, figure out what your American dream is. And I had to step up. My first job was working at a doctor's office as a licensed attorney.
Oh, wow.
I had taken my oath. I had done everything. I went to the doctor's office. I just worked. I did filing until I got to where I am today. And it was no longer the golden ticket of corporate. I had to decide that corporate America wasn't going to be for me and that I had to branch out and be a sole proprietor. So essentially, I took those steps into launching my own practice. I've been in the legal field for 16 years.
Wow.
It'll mark my 16th year this year, but a licensed attorney for 10, almost 10. So, if you like to do it because you like to do it, but don't do it for the money. Don't do it because it's a prestige. Because let me tell you, it's really hard to wake up and do something you like every single day. And that's kind of the advice I would have.
Yeah, I love that. Great advice. I think those were all my questions. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
Not really. I don't know if there's anything we can, tell business owners, or if anybody has questions, we can answer those. I know a lot of business owners are suffering. One area that we are kind of shifting gear is to tap into those business owners and to see if they have business loss of income coverage, to see if we can get it for their partial closures. I know we're in another closure right now. So the biggest thing is that if people are business owners and they have business insurance, send me your policy, send me your deck page, or contact me. I'll tell you what I need. Maybe we could do something to tap into your insurance coverage so that you can get money for the time that's been lost for income.
Oh, okay. So what do you mean by tapping into business insurance?
So how we have car insurance?
Yes.
So the way a car accident works is we go after the car insurance to pay you for your losses.
Right.
And for your injuries, property damage. Sorry. I did get a call and I don't know why. I put it on Do Not Disturb. We put it on, so you could tap into insurance policies, car insurance. When your home gets flooded, burned, or earthquake, if you have proper coverage, we can try to tap into that. People had riots, vandalism, fires, looting. If you had proper coverage. One thing that business owners, if they have business insurance, and specifically for business income loss, when there are certain things that take place in the world, or tragedies, we can attempt to tap into that business policy coverage. I'm going to tell you, 10 out of 10 times it's going to be denied, especially with the new pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
But it's up to us as attorneys to fight for our clients should we believe that there is coverage that could be provided. So that's what I mean. So like a lot of doctors' offices closed, like even the doctors, they closed. So they didn't work for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And it's not just that week that they didn't work. The concern is that it was because it's a trickling effect. So they lost clients at that moment, and then they had to open up slowly. They're seeing one patient every 10 minutes or 20 minutes. It's not the cycle. So there's a lot that could be claimed and future losses too. So it's something we review, my team and I work with different attorneys, so I'd be happy to review it. Again, we provide free consultations for all of this.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, that was great. I mean, those were all the questions. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for it's a pleasure, team, and yeah. So the Hollywood Production Center team is a fabulous, and you know, I love the amenities and everything you guys provide. It's fabulous.
Great, thank you. So I mean, we love having you as a tenant. And then for those who don't know, we also launched your law firm back in February. So thankfully.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So what we did is we launched, because I opened up last year and I opened up a new branch, but we did our party, you know, with 1010 and Hollywood Production Center, we launched our party and then we went straight into quarantine. So those who came and enjoyed are thanking me still for having that party, and they're hoping we can do one again.
Oh, definitely. We definitely will have to. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this series. I hope everybody follows and everybody could view them. You guys have had great individuals, like the nurse with surviving COVID. It was fabulous to hear her. And then the other lady, Selena, last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll definitely be having more up until for the entire summer. So all of August as well. So I hope everyone can keep watching. But thank you so much, Christina. And, you know, we hope to do this live with you again.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day, everybody. Wish you all well.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye.